اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك المظلومين. لعن الله الظالمين لكم من الأولين والآخرين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. عطر مجالسكم بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. My dear respected brothers, Assalamu alaikum. I hope you can forgive me, my voice is taking a bit of a strain. Because inshallah, with the barakah of your bright and luminous faces, inshallah, it will be easy, inshallah. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Tonight is the final chapter of the topic regarding death. We've spoken about the moments of death. We've spoken about the grave. And last night we discussed the barzakh, which we said, as a small recap, is the world in between this one that we are in currently and our final abode, inshallah, heaven, or hell for the non-believers. And barzakh has been existing since Adam to the last human being. It will always exist. And when we enter it, we do not know for how long we will stay. As in Adam, ever since his past, he's been in barzakh till today, interacting with the people in barzakh, and our relatives that have passed are in barzakh. And once we enter it, they'll visit us, inshallah. And all of us will be in Wadi Salam, inshallah. And we mentioned that there's two valleys there: the valley of peace and the valley where there will be punishment. The valley of peace is where in Najaf, Wadi Salam. And in Yemen is Wadi Barahut, where there will be the punishment and the cleansing of the sins before the final outcome, which is what? The Day of Judgment. And that is our topic tonight: Day of Judgment and the crossing of the Sirat. Inshallah, we'll discuss this. ببركة الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. When we look at the Holy Quran and how it speaks about the Day of Judgment, we see two numbers coming out. One, it says that the Day of Judgment is 1,000 years, and one mentions 50,000. Now, without the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salam, you'd think that there's a contradiction. Is it 1,000 or is it 50,000? What's going on? But the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salam have explained it in the hadith, alhamdulillah, and it says there's 50 different stages that we will cross and each one can last up to 1,000 years. 1,000 times 50. 50,000. So the name is a bit misleading, isn't it? The Day of Judgment, but it lasts for 50,000 years. And it's not 50,000 years for everyone. For some, it's a straight entrance in towards heaven. But for some, to cleanse them from the filth that they've gained in this world and they've forgotten to ask for repentance from, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts them in a state where they'll be waiting and waiting and waiting until the last moment, and then they'll enter. And then you'll see. And this is a form of suffering, but still from the mercy of Allah, not hell, but Day of Judgment, scary. To describe how Day of Judgment is, you're standing packed, one in front of the other, sideways, on a plain field. All of creation from the beginning till the end, resurrected from their graves. One plain field. Our sight in this world, it's got veils. There's limitations. I can only see as far as my eyes allow me. In Barzakh we mentioned that veil is lifted and you can see a further distance. In the Day of Judgment, you'll be able to see it all the way there, all the way there, as far as the eye can see, because the veil has been lifted. If your brother's standing all the way there, and you're standing at the other end, you'll be able to see. And we'll be in a state bare, frightened, scared. You've taken account of everything already in your grave. You know what your position is, but you're still frightened. It's similar to an assignment. You know, sometimes you go to an assignment. Many of you have experienced this. I know personally I'm experiencing it right now. You have an assignment that's due in a week. You know it's due in a week. Suddenly, it's due in one day. Suddenly, it's due in 2 hours. What happens? Day of Judgment. We know it's approaching. We're fine. It gets closer. Barzakh. The day comes. The Quran describes that your mother, your father will come to you. They'll say, give me some of your goods. Anta your mother, anta your father. Did I not take care of you? Give me some. I say, who are you? I need it. Go to someone else. My son, please. I've taken care of you all your life. Provided for you. No. You're all alone. And they say it could last up to 500 years in that position. When the first stage, all you're thinking is about yourself and what are you going to do? 500 years. Standing, frightened, unknowing what's happening. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was sitting down, and Angel Jibreel was right next to him. And then, from above, an angel starts to descend. The Holy Prophet describes this angel as his wings were reaching from the east to the west. He looks at Jibreel. His face has turned into complete fright. Scared. Jibreel was scared. Rasulullah looks at him. I said, scared. Looks down, the angel comes. Begins to greet the Holy Prophet. Ya Rasulullah, assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam. Allah has sent me down to ask you a question. Do you want kingdom and prophethood, or do you want slavery and prophethood? As in, do you want to be a king or do you want to be a servant? Looks at Jibreel. Jibreel is now coming. Jibreel, what do you suggest? He says, choose slavery and prophethood. Rasulullah says, I choose slavery and prophethood. The angel says, no. And the Holy Prophet describes that this angel steps 1 foot on the lowest level of heaven, next level, until he reaches the highest level of heaven, and he's changed from this massive form into a flying bird and disappeared. The Holy Prophet looks at the angel Jibreel and says, what was that? Why were you scared? And who was that? He says, Ya Rasulullah, that was Israfil. I was frightened because the only reason that he was going to come down was he was going to blow the trumpet that will kill everyone, including the angels. None will be alive except Allah. Because why? Allah is the only independent, the rest of creation is all dependent. Once the angel came down, Jibreel thought, that's it. Day of judgment is happening, we're all dead. But when I saw him he came to you and he asked you this question, then I realized, no, it's not Qiyamah yet. As in Qiyamah also scares Jibreel. How frightening was it? What's reached us, it can only give us a glimpse. The reality is truly unknown. But what we have is more than the rest of the religions and the rest of the sects. Every time the Holy Prophet ﷺ would talk about Qiyamah, he would be firm, he would be serious. And the companions would notice a difference in his attitude. So what are the stages of Qiyamah? The first stage, you're standing, and to the degree they say that you cannot drop a pin from how closely compacted you are. You reach the second stage. The second stage, they say, you're going to be asked about the rights of others. As in, if you owe someone money, you've stolen from someone, you've unjustly treated someone. This is now where they start to come and they start to ask for their rights back. Like, hey, remember that time that you refused to pay me and you owed me this much? I want you to pay me back. And that person will be in the position, it's like, there's no money here, I can't give you anything. He's like, okay, give me from your good deeds. In a day where you would not give your good deeds to your own mother and your father, the person that you owe in this world will ask you in that world, give me your good deeds. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to say what? It's between you and him. Haqqullah is next, but haqqul, the people around you, haqqul nas, that's between you two. Settle your accounts here before you have to settle it. Over there, khalas, you owe me this much. You can't go past this stage unless you pay me. Okay, take some of his good deeds. Another person comes, you wronged me. You treated me unjustly. I want you to pay me back. What can I give you? Give me some of your good deeds. Take some of your good deeds. What can you do? You can't pass the stage unless everyone has been paid off. Now someone will ask, what about if all your good deeds are gone? They say, okay, since you have no good deeds to take from me to take some of my bad deeds and I'll give it to you. In the beginning, you didn't give your mother a good deed and now you're taking the sins of others on your shoulders. What position is this? You pass the stage. Now it's the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what are the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You're praying. You've prayed now. Your khums. Have you prayed your khums? Your fast. Have you prayed your fast? Hajj. If you were able to go, did you go? No, it's very basic. See, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from His mercy, didn't make it hard for us. Even if, say, for example, someone after 20 years has not been praying, 30 years, 40 years has not been praying, suddenly he regrets what he's been doing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no problem. Start, but try to make up for it. Every day, try to pray one extra prayer. to owe back what you paid until you die. But also write in your will that I've got this many years of prayer that I haven't prayed. And inshallah, maybe when you die, someone can, your eldest son or someone from your family can pay someone to pray it off for you. See, there was a story about this one individual. I'm not sure in which country it was, either Iran or Iraq. But what happened was, he was known in the community as a person that never prayed and never fasted. He kept on serving the community. He served the community all his life. He passed away, and someone in a vision saw him being tortured. He had a dream that this man was being tortured left, right and center, screaming in anguish. Next day, or sometime later, he had another dream. He sees the same person, but different, wearing a beautiful robe, smiling, cheerful, happy. He says, what happened? He says, everyone knew that I've never prayed, and I've never fasted, and I never did this, but I always served the community. And there's this one sheikh, may Allah bless him, he says. He paid this person, and he mentions the name, to pray all my prayers. And he paid this person to pray all my fasts. And he paid this person to go to Hajj for me. And he paid this person to pay my forms. And he paid this person. He paid off all the haqq of Allah, all the rights of Allah. He paid them off. And the guy mentioned them name by name by name. As in, what did we mention yesterday in Barzakh? When you send a reward, a sadaqah, or an ayah from the Quran, or a glimpse of a reward, you send it for someone that's passed away, they receive it knowing that you received, that you sent it to them by your name. The story also confirms it. The guy wakes up. He goes, that sheikh came to visit that town. He visits the town. Assalamu alaikum, sheikh. I have a question. This person recently passed away. Did you do anything? He's like, yeah, I paid this individual. He mentions the exact same names and the exact same positions that he gave them. He's like, I paid them off to pay this person because of all the servitude he's done. What a blessing. What a blessing. Imagine the position he was in. I'll tell you another story. Because this guy was lucky. But there was a wealthy businessman. All his life, never prayed, never did homes, never did anything. Now, I remember reading a hadith from Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. They asked him, what's the fastest way to go to hell? He said, don't pay khums. Fastest way to go to hell. Don't pay khums. Look, khums is something that challenges us. And you mentioned with Sayyidah Maryam and the example that she had. Challenges make us grow. Khums, think of it like a tree. Sometimes you need to cut a small part of it for it. Whatever you give, you get in return 10 times or even more. Especially as the money increases, to give a fifth of that. But no challenge, no pain, no gain. Simple as that. So, this is a wealthy businessman. He told his son, my son, I've left $100,000 on my will. I've never prayed, I've never fasted, I've never done any of this stuff that I had to do. Please send someone to pay for me. Taman, if the father has never prayed, you expect the son to be praying? His son looks at the money. I got a bag full of money. Starts spending it, wasting it, and never paid a single thing for any of those a'mal for his father, and his father's facing the punishment. Settle your accounts before you're forced. You never know. You'll never know who will sort your accounts when you die. There's no guarantee. You can set up a whole organization for you to pray after you, but as soon as you die, who's to say that will work? Can anyone guarantee anything? You're dead, you're gone. What are you going to do? Come back to life? Yalla, shunu. اشتغلوا يلا. ما يفيد. Can't do anything with that. And that's the rights of Allah. Once you go past the different stages and how terrifying they are. But there is one beautiful stage. There's a stage when the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, in the beginning, the first stage, is when every group, and all creation has come, Allah, from Adam to the last. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell people to organize in their groups. The people of Prophet Adam gather with Prophet Adam. The people of Prophet Musa gather with Prophet Musa. All the way until Prophet Muhammad, inshallah, we will all be with Prophet Muhammad. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. They say there's also another state. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, will be holding a flag. And how far this flag goes, we don't know. But all the Shia will be standing under it. And they say Fatima Zahra alayha salam, she'll come on the day of judgment. And everyone will have to lower their heads. And then she'll begin to kick out her Shia. Where is the one that cried for my son Hussein? Where is the one that showed love for my son Hussein? Picks them out. All of them. Come. Heaven. In Surah Al-Asr, we recite unknowingly such a powerful state. We say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wal Asr, by time. Innal insana lafi khusr. Mankind is indeed in loss. You're all lost. Except إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. So he's saying mankind is all in loss except for a group. Those who have Iman and do righteous deeds. Now, in the path of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, our proof is evident. Kitabullah wa athrat ahli bayti. These are our guidelines for everything. The Holy Prophet does not speak out of his own whims and desires. Whatever he says is through God. So, when the Holy Prophet calls Amir al-Mu'mineen a name, it means that this has been given to him as an instruction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the battle of the trench, when the enemy of Islam crossed over that trench, challenging all the Muslims, he was a warrior that everyone was frightened of. The Muslims were all sitting down. He comes, chest out. All you Muslims, I'm one man. Which one of you is brave enough to verse me? Then he begins taunting them. He says, look, if you kill me, according to you, I go to hell, and you've earned a great reward. And if I kill you, according to you, you go to heaven. You win-win. Yallah, who's ready? Amir al-Mu'mineen stands up. Ya Rasulullah, I'll take care of it. The Holy Prophet says, sit down. Let's see if anyone else can get up. He asks again, anyone? The narrations say everyone sat down as if a bird was sitting on their head and they didn't want to move, so the bird doesn't fly. All those companions that we hear, Astaghfirullah, this individual, that individual, brave warriors. One person comes, Yallah, verse me, sat down, doesn't want to fight. Amir al-Mu'mineen looking around. He doesn't want to keep Rasulullah in that state. Ya Rasulullah, I'll do it. Stands up. Prophet says, Ya Ali, give them another chance. Yallah, no. Amir al-Mu'mineen stands up. Ya Rasulullah. The Holy Prophet says, come. Puts the turban on, puts the armor on. And then he says this, Baraz al-Iman. All of Iman. What's the Prophet calling Imam Ali? Iman. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. As in only those who have Iman, only those who have the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and they do the righteous deeds, those are the ones that are not lost. You see the power of the wilayah? You understand the position that you're in? And all of mankind is lost. Now it's one thing you have to realize. Every time, most of the time when you recite this in the Quran, it's always amanu wa amilu. Belief and action. And this in itself is a very powerful statement. You can apply it in your own life. Your mindset can change everything. You have a strong mindset. You have a strong mindset. You'll have a strong outflow. But you need the righteous deeds. You need to pray. You need to do your salah, your sawm, your zakat, your khums, your hajj. Cannot emphasize it enough. These are your duties, yani. What else are you for? Were you not created except to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Were you not? So that's that position. When the Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam are picked out. Now we've passed that stage. Comes, okay, you've reached the final stage. You have to cross the Sirat. There's a bridge that you need to cross. But that bridge is no ordinary bridge. It's a bridge that's thinner than a strand of hair and sharper than a sword. SubhanAllah, this is how the narrations indicate to us. Thinner than a hair. And research only recently discovered that the thinnest part of a human body is what? The hair. Hadith is mentioning that Sirat is thinner than a hair, sharper than a sword, and we all have to cross under it. If you fall, do you fall where? Jahannam. Hell. And if you want to enter heaven, you have to cross it. Because the end of the bridge is heaven. But never fear. Because for the mu'mineen, as soon as they step, what would happen? Hellfire, the fire begins to decrease. And it begins to say, cross faster. You're cooling me down. As you walk across. And heaven is calling you, waiting for you. But for some, they'll slip. Some might reach halfway, they'll slip. They'll fall. And there's different levels of hell. There's 8 levels of heaven and 7 levels of hell. Each one, when compared to the other, there's a narration I remember reading that says, behold, Jibreel describing the different stages of hell to Rasulullah. He says, Ya Rasulullah, the first layer of hell compared to the second layer of hell, it's like ice. Yeah, and that's how hot the second one is. And the second one compared to the third one is like ice. And the third one compared to the fourth one is like ice. And the fourth one compared to the fifth, all the way to the seventh. And how hot is the seventh one? Inshallah we'll know. But he says, what's that first one for them? He says, that's for the Muslimin. The Rasulullah says, for the Muslimin? It's like, yeah. He begins to cry. Yeah, for my ummah, my people. Yes. For some, they will be. Maybe for some time, because one of the things that we have to do in this world is to clean our heart from the vice, as in jealousy, hatred, envy. These need to be cleansed in this world. Because if they're not, the way that things are cleansed in the day of judgment is through fire. Yeah, it's for some period of time. Not forever for the Muslims. Because no one wants to be in hell. But they say that although the Muslims will be there and they'll be punished in hell because of their hatred or because of their envy or because of vices that they had in their hearts. For others, every now and then they'll show them their position in heaven. They say, look, once you finish from here, this is heaven. You do this. Just keep going. You didn't clean yourself, don't worry, we'll clean you up. But hell, fire burning you, your skin, eroded, brought back to you again. And your skin is burnt off, we'll give you another skin. Burn that off. Burnt off, burn off and on. For maybe 500, 600, 1,000, tens of thousands, we don't know. How long? We actually don't know. So I ask you this question, is it worth not cleansing ourselves in this world when we have 1, 2, 3 years, 20 years, 50 years, or 10,000 years, 50,000 years? What's more? Any sane person will say, I'd rather the next world, I've been heaven straight away. So that's why we make sacrifices ourselves. That's why we challenge ourselves so much. You know, in teaching, one of the things that they do, when they give someone a test, they make sure the first test, they want to see the faults that that person has. It's called a diagnostic test. This test is to see what the person does not know. After that, the teacher begins to make lessons that can help the person grow. And that's why you see sometimes the kids, I don't want to do this, it's too hard, and the teacher intervenes. But what does the teacher do? He keeps challenging that student. You have to do this. Here's how you do it. He's helping them. Same thing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's testing us. When you're angry, we know that when you're angry, do not make a decision. Sit down, drink water, do wudu. So many things that the Ahlul Bayt have mentioned for us to do. Don't retaliate straight away. There's a test. There's a test. A non-Muharram walks by. There's your test. What's your eyes going to do? Disturb. غض بصرك. Oh, that's your test. Each one of us has an idol, and we mentioned on the first night, each one of us has an idol. But once we destroy that idol, and we grow, who visits us? The only Imam that has no shrine, because he's alive and he's walking. Sahib al-Zaman would come and visit us because he's proud of us. Imam al-Mahdi will come to us. We mentioned the story on the first night. Each one of us has an idol. Notice, just look at it. What am I always falling from? This one sin that I keep on doing and doing and doing. I keep trying, but I fail, I fall. Maybe this can motivate you. Understand that that's your idol, that you have to destroy, that you have to overcome. And once you overcome, maybe that's the only wall that's stopping you from seeing Imam al-Mahdi in real life. Because the ulama say there's several stages for you to see Imam al-Mahdi here. The first is you hear his voice in a dream. You don't recognize it him. Then the second, you hear his voice, you recognize his voice. You don't see him. The second, you see him, but you do not recognize it. Still in the dream. But then, the next stage is you see him and you recognize him in the dream. What's the beautiful one after that? You hear him in this world, but you do not recognize it. And then you hear him and you recognize it him. Then you see him. Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Sallu ala Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad. Then you begin to see him. You might not recognize him initially, but then you see him and you recognize him and he hugs you and embraces you and is proud of you. Ya Allah. Isn't that a position we all wish for? Isn't that something that we desire? Imagine. We keep saying, don't we always say, Ya laytana kunna ma'aka sayyid wa mawla, ruhi laka al-fida. We're saying that to all our imams. Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself this right now for Imam al-Mahdi to come so he can be like, I've been waiting for you this whole time. There's a beautiful story. This one man, 14 times he goes to Hajj, because they say every Hajj season, Imam al-Mahdi is there. This man goes 14 times. Every time he's wanting to meet them, but never has the chance. 14th time he goes, he's like, this is the last one. I can't afford it anymore. My final one. If I don't see him, I don't see him. He goes, does Hajj, doesn't see him. He's like, okay, no problem. Then the next season of Hajj comes, he was about to not go. He was like, he took care of some things that he had. He sold his business, he sold this thing. He's like, I'm just going to retire. I don't care about money anymore. In a dream, he saw someone saying to him, come to Hajj. The Imam is waiting. Books his ticket, travels to Hajj, goes to Hajj, performs the Hajj, looks around, no one. Looks again, someone comes to him, taps him on the shoulder. The Imam wants you. Go to this area one day. He goes to it. He sees a tent. He opens the tent, enters, and he sees the Imam, and the Imam embraces him. And he says to the Imam, I've been coming for 15 years now. Every year I've been waiting for you. The Imam says, I've been looking at you, waiting for you, but you had one idol you didn't destroy. But you destroyed it when you said that no more. And you sold off that business, your wealth was holding you back. You sold it off, that was the final idol. But I've been waiting for you for 15 years, not you waiting for me. He embraces him. How beautiful. Now we've all heard that the Ahlul Bayt are compared to the Noah's Ark. Once you board the Ahlul Bayt, Safinatul Najat, that's it, you're on the right path. And they say that the fastest boat, the fastest ark is the ark of Imam al-Hussein. The fastest of them, the biggest of them. One of our ulama, we're talking 150 years, 200 years ago. Question, he was like, how is it that Imam al-Hussein has been given so much that the soil, every other soil you're not allowed to consume, haram. But the soil of Imam al-Hussein you can have. And on top of it, it's a cure for sicknesses. That the dua under his dome is accepted. And that certain special features are given to Imam al-Hussein. Why is this? Just curious. So there's a special a'mal that you can do in Kufa, in Masjid al-Kufa. Some say you visit every Tuesday, some you say you visit every Thursday. Different narrations refer to the scholars. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. This great grand scholar begins to go every Tuesday for 40 Tuesdays in a row, and 40 weeks every Tuesday, and you cannot miss one. We do certain special a'mal, and every one of us, if we do this, we also get the same outcome. They say Imam al-Mahdi will talk to you, will visit you, but you won't know until he leaves that was him. Each one of us can do this. 40 Tuesdays in a row. So this alim does it, and he had a question. Why is Imam al-Hussein in this position? He goes for 40 Tuesdays. He was expecting the Imam. Nothing. So he sat outside the mosque, just disappointed. And he said to himself, what did I do wrong? He didn't say, why did the Imam not come? He has the right mentality. What did I do wrong? Did I not do it properly? And he was a marja at that time. So someone came, he says, I have a question. He's like, okay, ask. He says, and he began talking to him about this story, and within it was a question. He says that there was this young man, there was a king who was going out hunting. That king, when he goes hunting, the whole crowd goes with him. was going hunting and hunting for wild animals, hunting for whatever it is. While he was hunting, he was trying to chase this animal, and he ran after for a distance that all the people that were with him, they've lost him. They can't find the king anymore. The king was lost. He looks around, there's nothing. He sees from a distance a tent, an old lady. He goes to the old lady. He doesn't say, I'm the king or anything. He says, hey, salam alaikum, alaikum salam, tells the old lady, I've separated from my people and I'm quite hungry and thirsty. Do you mind if you can just give me some shelter, some drink? She said, of course. And she tells him, look, it's just me and my son. My son has just gone out. He goes and collects stones from the desert. Durr al-Najaf. It's a stone in the desert. They say it could be this. He goes collects stones from Najaf or from the desert. And if he can get that, he gets some money for us. Or sometimes he goes and gets some fish. But that's it. We don't really have anything. So we come inside. He goes inside, gives him some milk. She says, we only have one thing. We have this cow. If my son cannot get us fish, we just live off milk. No problem. That's enough nutrients for us. This tent, this cow, and we get my son. And she said to him, just wait until my son comes. Come inside and wait for him. Her son comes after some time, and he has a guest in his house. And he was so happy. A guest in my house. Ahlan wa sahlan. You're hungry. Tells his mother, mother, prepare my knife. Goes, the only cow that they had, their source of living. If they had nothing to eat, they'll drink the milk. He goes, slaughters the cow, begins to chop it, and cooks food for this person. He doesn't even know he's a king. He just knows that this is a guest, and he wants to be hospitable and give his guest the best experience. He tells him, forgive me, I only own this one cow. For you I'm going to slaughter it. Slaughters it, cooks it, feeds his guests, and he says, tomorrow I'll take you to wherever you need to go. The next day comes, the king tells him in the morning, take me to this area. He takes him to the area. And then as soon as he enters, the king says, thank you, just leave me here. But let me give you this paper. He writes something on this paper. He says, whenever you need anything, just come to this area, give them this paper, and I'll bring you to me. And I'm at your service. He says, thank you, no problem. Puts it in his pocket. The king goes his way, the young man goes his way. 3 months passed. The old lady and her son are now hungry. No resources left. The cow is dead. Not much fish, not much food. She tells her son, my son, remember that man? He offered. Why don't we go to him? It's like, Mom, he was my guest. I'm sure I feel embarrassed. She says, you didn't ask him, he offered you. And we're in a position where we can't. We have to. Please. It's like, okay. So he goes, enters the city, gives them the paper. They look at him, okay, come follow us. He enters the castle. They open the castle. He sees the king sitting on a throne, and his advisor sitting next to him. The king stands up and greets him, and then the king says to his advisors, remember that time when I went hunting and I was lost and I told you about that young man that gave everything he had and he gave it to me and he didn't know I was eating? This is that young man. He says to the young man, I want to give you something. But let me hear what my advisors say. What do you guys reckon? First one says to the king, give him a bucket of gold. The other one says, no, the guy doesn't, what would he do with that? Give him gold, give him some animals as well. The other one suggests something, no, give him more than that, give him more than that, more than that. The king looks at them, he says, you all do not understand anything. This young man gave everything he had for me. Everything he had for me. He calls the young man, come. Takes up his throne. You're the king. Take a seat. Young man. He's like, I can't. First of all, my only skills are fishing and collecting. I'm not able to do this. I'm not up for this position. I would not know how to do this. You're the king. The king says, okay. In that case, I'm going to order them to build a palace just like mine right next to me. And my authority will be your authority. And whatever you say is as if I've said it. And every right that I have is your right as well. And I'll still be king, but you have the exact same thing. And he gives him that, he calls his mother and everything. Remember, this was a man talking to this marja. And now this is the question. That man looks at the marja, he says, what do you think is the reward for Imam al-Hussein when he gave everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If that king, because of a young man giving everything, the king gave everything, what about the king of all kings? When Imam al-Hussein gave his family, his life, his children, his daughters, he gave everything. Do you not expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him everything? Looks up, man disappears. Marja realizes that was Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam gave everything. For who? For us. For us. Sunnis and Shias both agree, if it was not for Imam al-Hussein, Islam would not have reached us today. Because what was Yazid doing? Drinking alcohol on the pulpit. In fact, he was wanting to lead the prayer, but he was too drunk. He sent one of his prostitutes to lead the prayer. She dressed as a man, and the only time they realized is when she started to vomit that she was a woman. This was Yazid. So they tried to attack Imam al-Hussein when he was performing Hajj. They wanted to kill him during Hajj. But Imam al-Hussein wanted to protect the sanctity of Mecca. So he decided to cut his Hajj short and he left. But before that, he sensed what was going to happen. So he sent his trusted messenger, Muslim ibn Aqeel. He sent Muslim ibn Aqeel to Kufa because why? He received thousands of letters saying, Ya ibn Rasulullah, we are ready for you and we are wanting you. We're prepared. And when you come, we'll give you our allegiance and we're prepared to give everything for you. Letter after letter after letter. Thousands of letters. He sends Muslim ibn Aqeel, his cousin. The brother, Akeel is the brother of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And we mentioned yesterday that Akeel was the one that married al-Banin to Imam Ali. He had a son by the name of Muslim, and Muslim, therefore, is the cousin of Imam Hussein. So Muslim goes. Muslim goes to Kufa to see if this information is true. He visits Kufa. In the beginning, yes, the people were right. They were with him. The mosque was filled with people. And he sends a messenger back saying to Imam Hussein, come, the people are actually ready. The Yazid sensed this was going to happen. What did he do? He sends one of his men to come and take over the city. How did he do it? How did this man enter the city? Now remember, Amir al-Mu'mineen this was his capital before. He had a lot of people that were lovers of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. How did this man from Yazid's army come and take over the city? He dressed in a black turban. When we see a Sayyid, it's because he's wearing a black turban. This man dressed in a black turban, and he entered, and people thought that this was Imam Hussein. When he uncovered his face, they realized, no, it's not. And he came and he took over the castle, and he began to imprison every single person that was supporting Muslim ibn Aqeel. Imprisoning them, torturing them. And then he started to look for Muslim ibn Aqeel. During Salat al-Isha, He was praying, leading the prayer. Muslim Akeel was leading the prayer. He finishes, looks back. Only 12 people left. What's happening? He goes, he walks in the alleyways of Kufa. Looks back. 5 people are left. Few more steps. All of them. And now there's a bounty on the head of Muslim. Whoever captures a Muslim, there's a huge reward for him. Everyone is left by himself in a city where he's gharib. He's a stranger. He doesn't know this city. He walks around. He's thirsty. He sits at this door. He sees an old lady. And they say that this lady's name is Tawa. He sits at the door. He says, Amatullah, can you give me some water? She said, okay, of course. She goes, gets him some water. He drinks the water. He's still sitting at the doorstep. Imagine the position of him. From the family of Rasulullah, sitting at the doorstep of a strange lady. Because everyone has left him alone. She says, what are you doing here? Why are you still sitting down? She notices the signs of religiosity on his face. She says, I forbid you from sitting here. It's haram for you to sit here now. He gets up. He says, Amatullah, I'm a stranger. She says, where is your tribe? Where is your family? And he says, لا أهل عندي ولا عشيرة. غريب بهالديرة. He says, Amatullah, I have no one, no tribe, no family in this area. I'm a stranger. Who are you? He didn't want to tell her. He says, I'm Muslim ibn Akeel. He was forced. He didn't want to tell people that I'm Muslim ibn Akeel. You're Muslim ibn Akeel? The cousin of Imam al-Hussein? The nephew of Amir al-Mu'mineen? Yes. And then she says, my house is your house, come inside. He says, can I stay just until Fajr and I'll leave? My house is your house, come inside. She takes him inside. Behind she has a separate building outside her house. She says, this is for you, stay here. She goes, gets him some food, gives him the food. He's staying. Her son comes home. Her son was not from the people of the Ahlul Bayt. And he heard about the bounty, the money, the reward that he can get if he tells people where Muslim ibn Akeel is. He notices his mother going outside the house, coming inside, into that separate building that they have, in and out. He looks at her, mother, what are you doing? Why are you going there? She blocks him. No, you can't go past. Mother, why are you doing this? Who is there? She makes him promise. She makes him vow that he will never tell anyone. She says, and he promises. He swears. And then she says, it's Muslim ibn Akeel. He says, Muslim ibn Akeel is here, and all of Kufa is looking for him. You know there's a great reward if someone tells him where he is. He's in my house. She's like, son, I've told you not to tell anyone. He's like, okay. What happens? He leaves. And he informs the tyrant, Muslim ibn Akeel is in my house. The morning comes. Muslim, the Ta'a enters the house. She sees Muslim, looks at the food. The food is untouched. Muslim, you haven't eaten anything. He says, I didn't want to eat anything. I just wanted to spend it in ibadah. I just wanted to pray. But I fell asleep. Do you mind getting me some water so I can redo my wudu? He also tells her, I saw in my dream Amir al-Mu'mineen. He's come and he's visited me and he says, hasten. We miss you. She says, what does that mean? He says, if it's true, and I know it's true, it means that my death is near. Suddenly, he hears the men surrounding the house. As they surround the house, he tells Taha, can you go and see who is it? She sees her son has brought the enemy towards her house. They've come to fight Muslim ibn Akeel. Muslim puts on his armor, puts on his sword. Taha's looking. She's crying. She says, usually no one is by himself fighting an army. There's at least his brother with him, at least his cousin with him, a friend with him. Muslim is by himself. He gets up, leaves, fights. This is Muslim ibn Akeel. The first group of men sent towards him attacks them, showing them the bravery of his uncle. Taha looks at him. She says, you're reminding me of Amir al-Mu'mineen when he was fighting. Muslim is fighting, killing them, annihilating them. The leader of the army says, call, we need more backup. They say, more backup and you're fighting one man? How is it when you're going to fight Hussein, who was even stronger? He says, you did not send me to fight any random man. This is from the nephew of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Send me more people. They say that Muslim, different narrations, 60 or 70 people he kills. Someone then attacked him. They surrounded him. They begin to throw rocks at him from the roofs. They begin to throw fire at him, charcoal at him. They couldn't get to him. They did everything. At the end, what did they do? They dug a pit, they covered it, a hole in the ground, and they said, okay, we'll surrender. They got closer to him. And then they started to attack him, until one of them cuts his lip, injuring it, breaking the teeth of Muslim ibn Akeel. And then he falls into the pit. They carry him, they take him towards the castle. And they say, when you enter, greet him, say, Salam, Amir al-Mu'mineen. And he says, my Amir is Hussein. And I'll never greet anyone else. He enters, does not say Salam. The tyrant says, you say Salam or you don't say Salam, you're dead. Take him to the roof of the castle. They take him towards the roof of the castle. He says, before I die, I ask for three things. You guys are Arabs. At least, not for Islam, for the sake of your Arabs. Grant me these three wishes. What are they? Let me pray 2 rak'at. Okay, no problem. He prays a 2 rak'at. Get me some water. He tries to drink. They get him some water. He tries to drink. Blood from his lip falls onto the water. The water becomes najis. He can't drink anymore. He says, if it was supposed to be for me to drink, if this rizq was meant for me, I would have drank. But it means I have to die first. Leaves the water. And then he says, when I die, I owe this person some money. Sell my armor, give him his money. No problem, we'll do that. Send someone to Hussein, telling him not to come. We're not going to do that. Bury me like you bury the Muslims. We're not going to do that. Muslim, they catch him, they hold him. What do? Do you know how they kill him? On the top of the castle, one individual holds him. Another grabs the sword, and they chop off his head. And then they push down his body from the top of the castle. And that's not it. Do you know what they do? They tie the body and they drag it into the city. And there's some beautiful lines that I want to read for you. يا مسلم وحده والعدوان حاطوه وشجاع وما يهاب الموت شافوه بحفرتهم أهل كوفان غدروه ولبن زياد تالي الراي ودوه وسفير الحسين بالعدم حكمه، وسفير الحسين بالعدم حكمه، ومن عالي القصر ومن عالي القصر عالقاع ذبوه، وبالحبل الرزية النور جروه، وبالحر الشمس أيام صلبوه. When Muslim was on top of the castle, he turns towards Medina. He says, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Imam al-Hussein was already traveling towards Kufa. He was already coming towards Kufa with his family. Imam al-Hussein heard the voice of Muslim ibn Aqil. He says, Wa alayka as-salam. Replying to him, he says an ayah from the Quran, but one of the daughters of Muslim was with the caravan of Imam al-Hussein. He goes, call me Hamida. Hamida, where are you? Where is the young daughter of Muslim? Hamida comes. She's only young. She sits on the lap of Imam al-Hussein. He begins to rub the head of Hamida. He tells her, my daughter, I am like your father from now on. My daughters are like your sisters from now on. My sons are like your brothers from now on. She looks at him, why? He says, your father is no longer my daughter. In that state, Sakina, the daughter of Imam al-Hussein, she was looking at this moment. When Imam al-Hussein was going to come in Karbala, when he was chanting Hal min Nasirin Yansurna, and all alone, everyone has died, his companions have all gone, his Ahlul Bayt have all gone, and he has time to bid farewell to Zayd. Sakina comes to him. Imam al-Hussein is on his horse. She tells him, my father, come down. He comes down. She sits on his lap. Sakina sits on her father's lap. She grabs his hand. She rubs it on her head. Father, rub my head like you rub the heads of the orphans. For after you, I'm going to be a yatima as well. Wa Husayna, wa musibata. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.